One of the key characteristics of community-oriented artistic practices is that they stem directly from a social space, transcend the borders between art and everyday life, and strive to activate and transform a community in the sense of public and common spaces. A classical viewer is in this process transformed into an active co-designer of an artistic act, which is at the same time an intervention into a social space. The key element for the articulation of community is the idea of actualizing participation as the process which treats the participants as material or a medium of the project, where the residue of the process is inseparable from the participant. The artists are devising their own actions through research that assume their own involvement in the everyday life of the community, whereby the community is firstly understood in terms of everyday coexistence and cooperation. Rancière's ideas of aesthetics, through its close relation to politics, can significantly improve our understanding of the effects of contemporary art's involvement with the social sphere and community-oriented art. Rancière rehabilitates aesthesis as an autonomous regime of experience which cannot be limited to logic, intellect, or morality. This is a designation from Claire Bishop. It is a form of sensual perception of art which moves aesthetics closer to politics through the potentiality of the new distribution of the sensible. So we have in mind here distribution of exchanges of experiences, skills, ideas, and knowledge among subjects. What is significant here is that due to the artistic attempts to strengthen social bonds and a sense of community, politics and aesthetics, according to Rancière's, disappear in ethics, or in its instrumentalization in the name of reaching a consensus and denying antagonisms in a community. I'm quoting, art is summoned thus to put its political potential to work in reframing a sense of community, mending the social bond, etc. Once more, politics and aesthetics vanish together into ethics. End the quotation. Rancière, in his critique of recent ethical turnaround, does not oppose ethics, only its instrumentalization. In weakening or even depletion of political disagreement and social antagonism on the account of artistic dealing with the social bond loss, and agreeing to new forms of consensus, Rancière recognizes one of the key paradoxes of the politics of aesthetics. The latter is supposed to reflect on the contradiction between the autonomy and heteronomy of art. This is the main feature of the aesthetic regime of art, so this new sensibility. My discussion is partly based on the decision of Claire Bishop, art historian, who is in her latest book, Artificial Hell, about participatory, community-oriented art, where she excludes transdisciplinary, activist, and ecologically based art based on research. She substantiates her decision by claiming that, I'm quoting, an integration of people is not a primary medium or material in a creative process, and that this field has its own discourse problems, which needs to be discussed separately. My answer to this claim are distinctly ecologically oriented artistic practices, which are at the same time substantiated through the work with the community. Artist working methods enable and encourage the development of interpersonal relations. Political topics like sustainability, environments, immaterial labor, gentrification, etc., are amongst the affinities in their methodology. They put more emphasis on how their work is connected with the social aspects, how to mobilize, stimulate a common desire for social changes, than on the look, so aesthetical form of the work itself. According to Rancière, embodiment, presentation of the excluded part of community is a way of political emancipation or subjectivation, so with new form of visibility, etc. Such an aesthetic dimension is a condition for all emancipatory politics, which are based on equality, but also dissent, polemic, division, struggle. Aesthetics is the realm of both possible subjectivation, political and artistic, where art can only be by chance correspond to politics, as it does not vouch to contribute to political subjectivation, so to the promise of emancipation. However, only to remind, Rancière concept connects aesthetic with Schiller's idea of aesthetic state, with a kind of unity of art and politics, aesthetic experience of artistic beauty, and a collective life in freedom. The articulation of community with the intervention of art is, in our post-utopian times, characterized by increasing awareness of the urgency of changes closely connected to ecological thought and concerns society as a whole, and the quality regarding the very survival of a human being. In order to analyze artistic ambition in a community, it is sensible to consider discoveries with the Italian operaist theory of contemporary labor, like by Virno and others, which together with the activation of resilience or flexibility and similar concepts like viability, precarity, etc., in the world of art, can significantly contribute to understanding of contemporary, resilient, flexible production of subjectivity. What we need to redefine are the process of subjectivity production in the light of their integration into community. I would like to mention here the idea of Félix Guattari about ecosophy. This is an ethico-political articulation within three ecological registers: environment, social relations, and human subjectivity. The aim of this discussion is to reflect on community and ecologically oriented art and to unravel the aesthetical and political perspectives inspired by Rancière's aesthetics. In this context, I am interested in its similarity or discrepancy with Guattari's thought, which implies an ethical dimension as well. In concept of resilience or flexibility, as an upgrade of global orientation toward the toward the sustainable development of Western society. So here we have this division on the north, exploiting the poor south, etc. This is also closely connected with the aspiration of community-oriented ecological art. The concept of resilient, flexible subject, which effectively intervenes with the neoliberal production scheme, is in harmony with these aspirations. A transition to post-Fordist capitalism is enabled by the occurrence of immaterial labor as new production paradigm, where the key tools of the production processes are communication, affectivity, and the making of intersubjective relations. The neoliberal concept of a community has a destructive effect on social bonds, as it exploits them for its own driving forces, while it abolishes public welfare and social security, with its implementation of new economic models. Community-oriented art takes on the role as a caretaker of common community spaces through forms of cooperation which open up a public domain, let's say with environmental, educational projects, with various green initiatives, and so on. It is based on local social milieu and also establishes a dialogue with the broader social space. In a society lacking alternatives on a systemic national level, a certain alternative is offered by art with non-conformity, informality, performativity, empathy, sensibility to its fellow people, a living environment, nature. With such approaches, artists want to activate self-organizing processes in the fabric of social and environmental relations, which are in crisis situations of neoliberalism, capitalist hyperproduction, and so on, often non-operable. Art theorists thus rightly warn about the danger of the instrumentalization of participatory and community-oriented art and its aspiration for restoration and strengthening social ties. So Claire Bishop is that kind of example. Production of subjectivity in capitalism and the creation of community bonds through art can be nevertheless seen in more optimistic light, let's say so. We can use the reflection by Félix Guattari, who places the production of a fluid, resilient subjectivity and its placement within the framework of the general economy of exchange at the central and the center of his thought. He emphasizes our ability to create new models of thinking and operating, which represents numerous similarities with artistic activities. Guattari discovers a privileged territory of subjectivation in art, which then offer a possibility of new life forms or articulation and possible models for human existence in general. Subjectivity exists only through the modus of connection with other people, social groups, or information machines. We can find also some similarity with concept of synaptic subjectivities, which we can find by Jacques Rancière on his book On the Shore of the Politics. From the, in English translation, is from 2007. In the name of resistance to uniformity of thinking and operating, social production modes needs to go through the screen of mental ecosophy. So this is Guattari's proposal. Individual subjectivity is thus the result of dissensus and at the same time inseparable from all the other social relations. Just like environmental issues are inseparable from all other production relations. Guattari, in his defense of the three ecologies, environmental, social, and mental, pays particular attention to aesthetics, or an ethico-aesthetical paradigm, as a basis which allow flexible modes of operation on various levels, and by this articulation of ecosophy as an alternative model of subjectivity production. Art has a function of reconstructing subjectivity, which then brings it closer to a psychoanalytical perspective. When discussing community and ecology-oriented artistic practices, we can supplement, let's say so, Guattari's ecosophic thought with Rancière's politics of aesthetics, and at the same time shed some light on the ethical dimension. I don't know if I have time to go to conclusion.
5 minutes.
Oh, great. From my point of view, aesthetics precedes ethics, which is understood as a matter of subject's free choice and not an external norm, and it is a fundamental relation to the other. Both the aesthetical and ethical aspects stem from a social space, collectivity uniting into community. Community-oriented art is often criticized, as I said already, of placing interpersonal relationship ethics about the politics of social justice. So this is also the statement of Claire Bishop. Albeit it is not always necessarily true that each such project results in a kind of consensus, expulsion or denial of otherness, instead in a break with habits regarding perception which evokes embarrassment, uneasy, ambivalency, etc. Due to the questioning about the excluded as a condition for the existence of a community or broader society. So we can talk here about foreign workers, for example. Hence, we can at best consent to ethics as Badiouian loyalty to a certain event, to a singularity of each artistic project. Claire Bishop rehabilitates Lacanian individual jouissance opposed to a universal maxim. So, and that kind of project based on freedom and risk. Such ethics can fruitfully support or strengthen aesthetical and political ambition of changing the world for the better or anticipating a future community. We can recognize Schiller's hope for the future aesthetic state with an intervention of the specific role of art within this. Guattari delivers a promising concept of an ethico-aesthetic paradigm from which originates the transversality of art as a subversive social power against capitalism. Art as such has to reach toward the social and at the same time remain in the domain of art and be successful in both spheres. And I think this is similar as in Rancière's aesthetic regime. This means that it maintains constant tension, even controversy and paradoxes. Thank you.
Thank you.